All right, so now for the JavaScript. The JavaScript is actually pretty straightforward. So let I equal, we're gonna start off and say -1. And I'll tell you so that we start off at the first slide. If we start off at 0, the slideshow will always start off at the second slide, but you'll see. All right, let time equal, we'll say 3000 because we want to cycle through every 3 seconds. We're gonna declare slide timer. You'll know why for that. Slide timer is slide timer is so that we are able to stop the set timeout function. We don't want it to run, and that's when we directly click a button. We want to basically stop the current cycle or the current timer, and then reset it with our function. And next, we're going to go ahead and we're going to say let slides equal document can't spell today, dot get elements by class name, and we're going to go ahead and use slide. That's our name. And the last one is, I'm just going to take this and copy it for the sake of time, and we're going to say dot, and we're going to go ahead and call these slide dots. Perfect. So we have basically two functions. It's click to change slide, which is going to take some value which will be passed in our HTML elements. Then we have another function which is the heavy lifter. It's going to be our change slide function, which is the root of everything. And then we're going to have window.onLoad. And then we're just going to call automatically, so as soon as the page finishes loading, we're going to automatically call the change slide function so that it runs the whole time. The carousel is automatically going through its cycle. So with the change slide, we also need to pass it some parameters. The first one is going to be n, and by default, we're going to give it say that n equals I, which is set up here. So to start, n is going to equal 0. And the next part is we're going to say that manual equals false. And this will help us only have to use these two slides and reduce the amount of repetition in our functions. All right, great. So we outlined it. Let's get right into it. We're going to go with the main one, the change slide function. First thing is we have to cycle through. So we have to cycle through. We'll use J just so that there's no confusion with scope. Let J equal 0. J is less than slides dot length, and J++. All right, so we have our basic loop that's going to loop through all the slide elements. What's next? Well, the next thing is we want to go ahead and say that all slides dot class list dot remove, and that's going to be active slide. So basically what's happening here is we're going to be giving one slide the class of active slide, and when we give that element the class of active slide, when we add it to the element, it's going to position it at the front of all the other slides, and that's how it's going to be visible. So when we go here, and we're going to go ahead and say slides I, so I is here 0, right? That's going to be called dot class list dot add active slide. So this should change colors soon. If we look here, change slide is called onLoad. It goes and it says slides I dot class list dot add active slide. Did I do anything there? Let's see. If I go here, active slide, where are you? I haven't done anything. So let's edit the active slide by saying z index is going to equal 10. So we bumped it up a lot. Still not running. All right, let's keep going. And then we are also going to Did I miss something? Class list dot add active dash slide. Right. Let's remove that for now. Now we should see the result. There we go, slide 1. All right, so that's the first step. So it's gonna go loop through, and you could see the console. I'll go ahead and put it so it's visible. Console.log I. And you'll see its value. So its value is 0 to start. Now what we want to do is at the end of that, so once this is done, we want to increment I and then call the same function again with the new value. So setting I to 1 and then call the function again. And that's how it'll run automatically. And it'll run automatically every 3 seconds because that's what we set it to. So watch, so slide timer equals set timeout, and we're going to state change slide as the function that we want to call, and time using the time parameter, so every 3 seconds. And so it's going to call it again, but nothing's really changing here. It's calling. You could see that the console log is printing it right every 3 seconds, but nothing's really happening. So what we're going to do here in order to change it is that we have to increment the I. So after doing slides I could literally just go and say I plus plus. And every 3 seconds we should see something change. And there we go, we see it change. But watch what happens when it gets to slide 4. I is going to increase, but the slide isn't changing. And that's because we need to cycle back to 1. We're at 4, we need to cycle back to 1. So that's not good enough. So here's what's going to happen. We're actually going to be incrementing the I before anything takes place. So before we change the I, we're going to do a check. Right? So let's put some comments and we'll say increment I. The first one is we want to check if we manually clicked a button, and that's why we set this to false by default, right? Because when we manually click, we're going to enter this function here, and this will be set to true. We're going to call this function with true. We'll get to that. But if manual, do some stuff. We're not at manual. So the condition, if it's not manual, if we haven't manually clicked it, then how are we going to increment the I? Well, if I equals, we're going to use a ternary operator and say that if I equals, so I equals, the condition first that has to be checked is if I is less than slides dot length minus 1, then I is going to equal I plus 1. If that's not the case, then I needs to equal 0 because we've gone beyond what I should be. So 3, 4, and now I cannot go higher than that. Therefore, I should be set to 0. But the challenge now is that visually, all of them have been given the class of active slide. So if all of them have the class of active slide, the one that's going to be the most visible is slide 4, the last one. So what we do here when we loop is we make sure that we remove active slide from all of them, and only the current slide will have it added to the element. So only the current element will have that class active slide added to it, which will help it become visible. So let's see if things are running. So slides.classlist.remove active-slide. Else I equals that. Slides I.classlist.add. Seems like it should be running. I'm a bit baffled. Let's remove this. And it runs perfectly fine. When I add this, that's why. No wonder. Bonehead mistake. But we all make them. Okay, so now it should cycle back. 3, 4, and come back to 1. There we go. I got scared for a moment. 2, 3, 4. Great. So we got the basis here. Now we want the dots as well to cycle. So it's the exact same process. We're going to go ahead and we're going to say, first, we are going to say slide dots I dot class list dot add active dot. And what should we get? Have I set active dot? I'm not sure if I have. Let's see, we have dot container, we have dot hover, we have dot active. That's why. Dot active, not active dot. Naming patterns, big deal. And there we go. So it should be transitioning the same, but we're not removing it, so we have to remove it as well. And we're just going to go to the exact same place, and instead of add, we are going to remove. And now it should be consistent. So we're getting there, step by step. Was there anything else that we needed to do? I think that's it. So the next step is we are going to be working on the click change slide function. And that's where we're going to fill in the rest of this function.